our meeting to order.
Ellen Czajkowski, Office of Legislative Counsel. I'm here on 19-0040, draft number 13.1. The changes are in yellow and there are only a handful. On page 2, the very last line, I added the reference to the working landscape. So, as a part of a balancing of interests to support economic development in compact centers while promoting a rural countryside, supporting a working landscape, and protecting important natural resources, exempting designated downtowns and neighborhood development areas from Act 250, and increasing Act 250 jurisdiction at interstate changes and over certain new roads. Because the designation under 24 DSA Chapter 76A would affect jurisdiction, the bill provides for appeal of designation decisions. So I added certain. Next, I fixed the typo on line 9, so it's per diem rate for district commissioners to $100. On line 13, on page 2, I added the change requested by Representative Lefebvre. So starting on line 11, amending the permit process by giving the Natural Resources Board the power to issue major permits in addition to the NRB's current duties. The board will have 3 full-time members. Major permit applications will be heard by a panel of the board and 2 district commissioners from the district where the project is located. Appeals of Act 250 permits would go to the Supreme Court. The Environmental Division of the Superior Court would continue to hear other permit appeals and enforcement. Right. Page 9. I added the reference in the road rule. I struck the language we discussed on line 17 in the road rule, the reference to subdivision and development. And then on page, line 1 of page 9, this subdivision shall not apply to a state or municipal road, a utility corridor of an electric transmission or distribution company, or a road used primarily for farming or forestry purposes. Page 21. At the bottom of page 21, section 6028, compensation. Members of the board and members of the district commissions shall receive per diem pay of $100 and all necessary and actual expenses, except when working on a major permit application. Members of the district commission working on a major permit application shall receive pay commensurate with board members.
Great. That's clear.
Alright, on page 88, I struck the part of the municipal plan review having to do with appeals of designations, because that's already addressed. And then on page 92, Alright, so this is section 18, Natural Resources Board Permit Report. So I added the language suggested by Representative Dolan. The report shall include the number of permits issued by the board and district commissions, the number of properties that have been released from Act 250 jurisdiction, the number of pre-application meetings held pursuant to 10 VSA 6084A, the number of people who have requested party status, how many were approved or denied, and the reasons for denial. Alright, so then,
Trevor has a question.
Well, it's actually just
Oh,
one that
extra of.
got an extra off in
I
line 6.
circled it and didn't say it. Sorry, go ahead.
You have an extra off in line 6.
Of
The second one's not required.
of permits of issued.
oh. Okay. Alright, if anyone finds any others, I'm sure they'll let me know.
And we're gonna keep doing it. Page 93.
Yep.
Okay.
Page 93 is, so I changed the effective dates section. And what I did was I pulled out all of the dates that were related to setting up the professional board. So there's a new section 20, Natural Resources Board transition. Appointments to the Natural Resources Board shall be made on or before December 15th, 2020. The terms of any Natural Resources Board member not appointed, consistent with the requirements of 10 VSA 6021, shall expire on October 31, 2022.
I don't get that long. I thought the December 15th date seemed early to me, from what I thought I heard, and then, so they would have overlapping board members? Like this, so the existing board members who are not appointed to the professional board, they would totally, they'd overlap. Evan, can you help with the dates? I mean, I don't know, can someone,
I didn't realize that was a question for someone at the Natural Resources Board. The question was, during the transition period, would there be
like,
excess board members, in other words?
that's what it looks like, yeah.
Well, I guess that's possible depending upon how it's structured, because, you know, well, I don't know. I mean, there has to be there's a period of time in which this bill contemplates that the board is going to be accomplishing several things before the new board is up and running, including some of the study committees and the reporting, enacting procedural rules for the new board to operate under. Someone's going to have to be doing all of those things, or at least start working on them, perhaps prior to the time when all of these new board members are appointed. So it's theoretically possible that there could be some overlap.
2 years is what this says. So, appointments to the Natural Resources Board made on, like, I assume that means to the new professional board.
Yeah.
By the end of this year.
Well, if that were to happen, then those new board members would be able to assume the responsibility of accomplishing those interim tasks. The things that need to get done, like some of the study committee work, before the point in time when it's finalized its rules of procedure and is ready to start hearing cases.
Okay. Jim, Carrie. Looks like
I am willing to be disabused of this for sure. I am thinking, there was a time when we had language, there shall be created and a verb, for instance. Since we've let go of that concept, I have been feeling as if the Natural Resources Board, referred to as the board, is the board that we have now, and we're flushing it out with more people, and that we're not riffing everybody there and starting all over again. So we have a staff and we have a certain number of people there, and we're muscling it up with more. And that those new appointments, so I think for me, if that's the case, then this all just kind of works its way through organically. But so I guess I don't see that as much of an issue. And if it is an issue, I don't see how we solve it with our effective dates in section 20 or 21. It's just
Okay.
I understand what you're saying. I guess what we could do is we could strike B, and that upon the appointments made on December 15th, 2020, former board members' terms are deemed expired, or something.
Say that one more time.
So appointments made to the Natural Resources Board shall be made on or before December 15th, at which time the current board members not appointed pursuant to the judicial nominating process shall expire.
I think so. I guess I feel like the 2020 date, I thought this was further out. This whole thing was, is everything gonna happen from July 1 to this, like the whole judicial nominating process happens in 6 months?
Maybe. I don't know.
How long would it normally take?
I don't know.
well, the judicial. They have to be vetted by the Senate, yes?
Yeah.
So it can't unless the
happen. Can
Senate.
we look
Yeah,
back at the
yeah,
dates of the
yeah.
creation of the board?
Yeah.
I feel like we might have that wrong. Can we go to where the board gets created by a certain date?
I don't think there is one in the text of the bill.
Okay. I thought there was by a certain, okay.
No.
It's not gonna come in until January.
Right.
I guess that we were told that there was $200,000 the first fiscal year to stay on this stuff, which wouldn't represent the whole board. This is Nat chatting around.
I get Billy Coster, Agency of Natural Resources. My understanding for the next fiscal year, which starts in July, there's $200,000 earmarked for the 2 additional board members. There's already 1 board member that's in the budget, the chair. And then there's the additional money for those 2 additional positions. That's how it's been explained to me. And the idea is to get them going as soon as possible so they can oversee the rulemaking, the implementation of standing up this revised process.
Okay, but they still have to go through judicial nominating process, so that's gonna be more than 6 months from the date of passage. So this date probably should say 2021.
Okay.
That just seems like,
It might have to back up to the end of the session, because the Senate's not in session in December. Either not till January 15th or something, or back.
well, December 2021, yeah, gives you one session. That's why government office does this. Yeah, Carrie.
Just a question for my own clarity. I thought that right now there's an opening at the NRB. There's no executive director there anymore, is that correct?
For me, that question?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Greg Boulbol, Natural Resources Board. There is a vacancy. The position was formerly filled by an executive director. That vacancy is being used to hire, instead of an executive director, another compliance officer. And we are in the hiring process right now.
Will that position even be available for a board member?
We would need to go through whatever the process is in order to get another position, because we are transferring the position from a executive director position to an enforcement and compliance officer position. So we would need to get another position.
Okay. So, we'll just pick a realistic date. Because
I think it has to be in January, because I don't think the Senate isn't gonna be there in December.
that's a buy, this is a buy date.
Yeah.
It's not that they're gonna do it in December, but
And it's a whole year later, so.
Okay. By May.
I mean, we could do 2022, but anyway, let's try a year later.
So December 15th,
2021. Or maybe it should be, I don't know, 2022, May of 2022. Yeah.
I think so.
And then I think B still works.
That probably makes sense if, depending on how we're going to fund these positions. If it's going to be shared with the general fund, you'll need to somehow incorporate it into the budget, into
Right.
the governor's budget. And, you know, what that process is like.
So, appointments made to the board on or before May 1, 2022, May 15, 2022, what?
Let's give them the whole biennium, the whole session, June 2022. And then by October, the other board members would be gone. Yep.
That
Except that they're gonna be hearing, well, amendment.
I'm just concerned that might raise some issues. I mean, we're essentially gonna have two parallel boards, it sounds like, at least for a short period of time, where there'd be one existing board and the new board members to take on the new role. I suspect it would probably be cleaner if a new board started and the old board finished their terms within a relatively short period of time. Especially if there might be two chairs.
So when you look at the dates, what's your
I think-
recommendation?
I think Ellen had language to address that.
Yeah.
That's not going away.
Okay.
We're just changing the dates. We're still gonna make the language change.
Great. I thought that there was some indication that B would stay.
I did just say that. I'm very tired, I'm sorry.
Sure.
It's-
Okay.
Carrie.
And I wonder if you could add clarity by stating that the transition to the new board and the replacement of board members is, you know, conducted in such a way that it's handled in a timely fashion, and I don't think anyone was foreseeing it, having two boards operating at the same time.
No, I don't think this, all right, so let's keep going.
The Natural Resources Board shall adopt rules of procedures for its permitting process pursuant to section 6025A on or before November 1, 2022. So you're gonna have to give them at least 9 months. unless you want the current board to do the rulemaking.
Greg, or Evan, rules of procedure for permitting process, are they gonna change significantly? I guess,
They
yeah,
will.
because they're taking up
They'll change,
pages,
yeah, and I mean, I'm of the mind that it would likely make more sense to have the new board participate in that rulemaking process
Yeah.
rather than the existing board.
Yeah.
March? May
Of what? March?
2023?
Yeah, it's gonna have to be 2023, I guess.
The district commissions shall continue to hear major permit applications until
Probably should say until the
March.
board is stood up
Yeah.
and able
Yeah,
to
I
take
think
major
that's
permit
okay.
applications.
Agree with that.
so March 2023, after their rules have been promulgated.
I think it should say, and when they're ready to take them. But after they're stood up and ready to take them.
But no sooner than March 2023, or, yeah, when they're ready, because they might be ready before that.
But they will need to complete their rulemaking.
So,
1 month after the promulgation of the rules.
Sure.
do you want me to say 1 month after or say April?
1 month.
1 month.
Just in case we don't hit the
Okay.
March deadline. Not that we won't, but
You guys gonna have a lot going on at that point.
yeah.
All right, let's talk about the rest of the effective dates. Okay. This act shall take effect on passage, except Section 5, Designated Center Appeal. Section 6, Regional and Municipal Planning. Section 10, Environmental Division, and Section 11, Environmental Division. That's on November 1, 2022, but I had tied that to when the board was starting, so when should that be? When they start hearing major appeals? Or major permit applications?
Sure.
In Section 3 of, the following provisions of Title 10 shall take effect on a date we shall decide on. These are all things that have to do with the board. So ethics, notice of application, pre-application process, hearing, commencement of review, permit hearings, applications, denial of application, appeals, and recording and duration of permits. So I also had that sort of as it's tied to the board, so.
Well, since appointments have to be made on or before June 2022, You did.
So, where are we here? We're on line 10, trying to figure out a date. Yeah. Carrie, any thoughts?
I thought we were down to 2021.
Down to what?
We're on 2021, I think. Mine's 2021.
I thought we were on the back page.
At the bottom of, I was just reading the bottom of page 93 onto 94. Those are all for currently it says November 1, 2022, but because you are changing the appointments of the board, I don't know if you wanna keep that date.
So, was there a reason you chose November 1, 2022? Is it because of C on lines 9 through 11?
No.
Okay, why did you choose
I
that?
think these are all things that have to do with the board being set, how the board runs, so I had
Right.
tied it to the board. So you have now made it so that the board has to be appointed by June 1, 2022, and that they will be taking on major permits after the rules are promulgated in March 2023.
In 12 and 13, okay. So that's the November one. Should we use similar language then, 1 month after promulgation of rules, or should we sooner?
May I ask a question? It's my own ignorance. I'm trying to get a sense for, in section 3, the following provisions of Title 10, and this bill has a lot of sections and a lot of components in section 3.
Mm-hmm.
Everything relating to
The whole
jurisdiction,
section,
yeah, the whole, obviously the definitions, the issues you made about board governance, the exemptions, proceedings, criteria, and so I would imagine we would, I look to you to try to determine I imagine we would need to have it come into effect in order to promulgate the rules perhaps, and then we would have to have a sort of justification for going through rulemaking. Again, I'm just thinking of timing, how,
Yeah, I'm in agreement here, there's a reason you put November 1, 2022, and it's because of lines 12 and 13. Now we've changed the wording there, but is there a reason to have this take effect sooner than this, than what you have here, considering what these cover on the next page?
I mean, obviously it seems like we have, excuse me.
Well, I guess it could be on June 1 when the board is appointed. But if they're going to be appointed and then conduct their rulemaking for their procedures.
I would argue at least 2/3 of this bill is in section 3.
And we don't need to wait. Is that what you're saying, Katie?
Yeah, when we're saying it will take into effect except for 2/3 of it. So I think we have it a little bit.
No.
The whole thing takes effect in the first sentence.
The whole thing takes effect on passage except for these 7 parts of Title 10, these 7 sections of Title 10. which we're pushing back.
Because they related to the new board. So
Right.
we just need to pick the date that we think the board will be stood up by. Which we did on the previous page, right? June 1, 2022.
So
Do you agree?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
I think that makes sense. There may be a couple of provisions that could be implemented earlier, like the ethics provision, the denial of applications, maybe a couple of others. I was looking for a paper copy so I could kind of cross-reference, but I think your proposal makes perfect sense, just to have it the same date as when the board is stood up.
Okay. Cece.
Sorry.
It's the very last page.
Yeah, I wanted to look at the.
Oh.
I have the last
I
page.
see
I'm
what you
looking
mean,
for.
I see what you mean.
Line 9 of page 94, 10 VSA 6086A8, which is criterion 8, shall take effect on September 1, 2021. That's the date that they have to that the board has to complete rulemaking by, but we pushed back when they'll be set up.
Well,
So
the
the
current
current
board
board
can keep doing some of this work. I mean, that's the intent,
Okay.
right? That
So then
rulemaking-
that is, you
Yeah.
can,
I apologize, I didn't turn the page. See, but
oh,
that was
alright, and then the last section is about the interstate and that, the interstate interchange language, and that hasn't changed from the last draft. So I guess, though, there's that weird provision about the appeal that I don't understand. Appeal of any decision of a regional planning commission shall be calculated as if it were a decision made on November 1, 2022. So should that also be tied to the date of the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Alright, that's it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna report on these deadlines on the floor.
We'll need Evans.
Is there
Cannon
anything
for
more
that.
you wanted to add after looking at that?
No, only that there may be a typo on line 1 of page 94, 6083 ethics. I think that's
Oh.
6031, maybe.
What is it?
It's, I think it's
Oh,
6031.
it's, yes. Yes, 60.
I can clarify. I can.
No, oh, that's, 6083 is applications.
Yeah.
So that probably. Yeah.
And I have an email from Jim Dumont who would like us to insert language around. Did you get that?
Yes.
Okay. Says, with the exception of minor applications, each matter shall be treated as a contested case within the meaning of the Administrative Procedures Act. He's wanting to insert that around, the boards. For the board. He thinks it needs clarification. I think other people think it doesn't need it. Were you copied on that?
No, what, I don't, Greg, were you copied on that?
Comments on that?
I may have been forwarded that email at some point.
Just came in.
The Administrative Procedures Act is already, I mean, we're already compelled to comply with it, so I don't know that you need any special language indicating as such.
Well, can we put it up on the,
I can't.
it's on the website, it's on the
Jim.
website. The Jim Dumont letter from today.
For me, this may be the best suggestion since January 19. I'm just saying, I'm not interested at this point in taking new testimony and putting new stuff in the bid.
That's a good point. I
That
kicked
can
it-
be done
I did-
later.
Okay, thank you. Evan,
I'll also just point out that there is an entire section, section 6002 in Act 250 called Procedures. It's one sentence, and all it says is, the provisions of the APA apply.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It's pretty simple and
All
clear.
right.
It's my favorite section.
Mine too.
All right, so with some changes to the dates and a couple of typos.
Can I just make one clarification to the date? The last one, sorry, I apologize, but the last one related to the municipal plan review,
Yeah.
that should be tied to when the new board promulgates their rules, not when they're seated. Just to correct what I said earlier. And I think you've got dates for that already with, it's like a month after the board is seated.
A few months. November 1, 2022.
Mine's 12 and 13.
Isn't that it?
On line 13, page 93, instead of November 1, 2022, 1 month, within 1 month after the rules have been promulgated is what I understood.
So, I'm sorry, so, the new, you want the new Natural Resources Board to do the municipal planning capability plan review? Which,
Appeals B, the last
Oh.
subsection of this bill. You were changing the date of that
oh,
to match the new date the board is seated, and I said it should just be the date at which the board has established their rules, which I think is like a month after they're seated. I'm sorry, I can stop, but I'm just.
November 1, 2023, I think would be it.
Okay,
From the previous page, that's when they will have adopted their rules.
thank you.
March 1, 2023.
The rules. What line are you on?
10 of page 93.
Oh, right, I had, right, March, but okay.
Okay.
Those dates just should be the same,
Okay.
whatever they are.
Okay, okay. Okay. Discussion? Jim?
I'm thinking there's a typo here and there, and I'm thinking, we can consider the date changes in section 20 and 21 as corrections. I think the phrase might be Scribner corrections. And if we buy into this, then this bill can be moved with those corrections. So this is a matter of procedure for us to take at the moment, which probably equates to 38 person hours for 38 people in this room, because it'd take an hour otherwise to do it, and then I'll get back in here and vote again. So I'm not making that motion yet. I'm floating the idea of procedure out to the room.
I agree with that.
It's good. Yeah, just a couple of minor changes, this is
Yeah.
often done.
Yeah. Well then, I am now making a motion that we accept draft 13.1 with the minor Scribner changes noted. It's draft 13.1 of 19-40, dated 2/13 at 1:28, and I move the bill.
Second.
clerk shall commence to call the roll. Any discussion? I don't get to do this very often. No further discussion. Clerk shall commence to call the roll.
Representative Bates.
No.
Representative Boland.
Yes.
Representative LaFave.
No.
Representative McCullough.
Yes.
Representative Morgan.
No.
Representative Odie.
Yes. Yes.
Smith is absent. Representative Squirrel, yes. Representative Teresini is absent. Representative Sheldon.
Yes.
Skip me.
That's because you're not on the list. But I will put you here.
Yes.
Representative Hill.
Yes.
We need to.
I have an updated one that's one of the kids. Sorry.
Thank you. I said absent. Thank you.
Can you announce the vote, please?
Sorry.
Can you announce the vote, Counsel?
6:30.
6, 3, 2 absence.
All right. We will let the clerk get a clean copy from Ellen and take it out to the other clerk.
Thank you.
We're adjourned for the day.
So, a procedural question before the room fills out here. We need at least a person named as reporter who takes it to the clerk.
That's what I was thinking too.
What do I do? Take it to the clerk.
For the reporter?
Take it to the clerk, I guess.
The newspaper report, the appoint person.
Oh, to the, I don't know if that means spelled here.
Means you're the official reporter of the bill.
Representative Dolan is the reporter of the bill.
Oh my gosh.
We can split it up.
So, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Thank you all.
Thanks.
What are you gonna do now? You need something else to do?
We got the rest of the year off.
10-minute break and you're back at it. Come on.
I think you might have earned it.
We're off the record.
Are you off the record?